the biggest thing that shamans said, and I talked to a lot of different shamans, they said that the biggest thing you need to do to drink the medicine, which is like for any healing really, is to surrender, which means let go of control, which I can tell for most Western people freaks them out because most people are control freaks. And that's why they're creating in the external world being controlled, right? Because as you know, the law of attraction, what you bring into your life is a reflection of your inner energies. So in a way, a lot of the restrictions and lockdowns are just a reflection of what people do to themselves every day. So in terms of being ready to drink ayahuasca, what you really need to do is you really need to be ready to heal. And sometimes people, when they go and drink ayahuasca, they think they're ready to heal, but they're not because they don't surrender. And you can tell that because what they do is they drink the medicine and nothing happens. So to be ready to drink the medicine and surrender is you got to allow the medicine to do what it wants to do. Now, what a lot of people do is they go there, but they're not ready to heal. They won't allow the medicine to work. I've seen people drink 3 cups and nothing happen because they're not ready. And I'll give a good example. Because the centre I worked at in Iquitos, we used to have a ceremony every 2 days, right? And this guy had been to 3 ceremonies and nothing happened. And I saw him the next morning because we used to do meetings in the mornings, right? And after ceremonies to help people. And he was crying. I saw him on the way to the shower and he's crying. He said, because all these people were having amazing experiences, but he had nothing had happened. And he was crying. And I said, he was actually from the UK, actually. And I said to him, "You're not ready." And yeah, no, I am. I said, "No, you're not." I said, "What you need to do is you need to go and sit in the jungle today by yourself, and you need to really connect deeply to why you want to drink ayahuasca and why do you want to heal." And he did that. And the next ceremony, it was amazing. In the circle meeting the next day, the first thing he said is, "I found my purpose." And I still remember and looking at him. And now he's a life coach around the world. And he's written his own book, which is exciting. He actually put me in it because he talked a bit about that story, right? And that was a bit about ayahuasca was working through me to kick his ass to say, look, no, you've got to open yourself up to heal. But the main thing is about being ready is you've got to be ready to heal. That means that there's something in your life that you want to change. You've got some symptom and you know that you're not dealing with yourself and you need some help with it. Look at it as to what you need to see to heal. That's the main thing. You've got to be ready to heal. Because people take all they go on diets and everything, but they don't surrender the medicine. Nothing happens. And if you don't surrender the medicine, I can tell you it's very uncomfortable. It's very painful, right? It's like ayahuasca trying to kick your ass, and you're resisting it. It's actually really painful if you resist ayahuasca.
I think someone else might have mentioned it as well, but I think what I like to try and understand, especially if you have some sort of perhaps mental affliction that's been on for many years, and you become quite desensitized to emotions within life. So you are a bit of a drifter, and whatever you do, you mentioned it before about someone not experiencing joy. I'm just wondering the kind of how easy is it to be able to surrender when you've been for so long in a kind of almost so much in your head that you can't bring yourself down, if you see what I'm saying.
Yes, because a lot of people don't understand what surrender is. And surrender means it's not giving your power away. Cause sometimes people think, oh, you got to surrender, not like in a war, right? When you're giving your power away. Surrender means that you're actually allowing the healing process to happen. So in answer to your question, yeah, a lot of people are in their heads, and I've got to help them get out of their heads into their hearts. Because in Western life, we're taught at school you've got to think a lot. Now, if anyone's read Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, it's about not thinking at all. It's just about being intuitive. I did a talk a couple of weeks ago on intuition. It's not about thinking, it's about just knowing, and it's about connecting to the world. So like when you're surrendering, it's like whatever happens, you go with it, you feel it. And that's what Eckhart Tolle talks about as well. He talks a lot about observing it, because we're not our thoughts and we're not our emotions. Their experiences happen through us, they don't happen to us. So the important thing is, hopefully, if I answer your question, Tom, and Alan's at the same time, is when the experience comes up, and this is what you should be doing in life. When experience comes up and you go, I'm feeling really sad right now, you go, oh, hello, sadness. I'm feeling you. Why are you here? It's a symptom. It's going to teach me something. That's what surrender means. You sit with it. You don't resist it. Because the opposite to surrender is to resist. And I can tell you that most people resist. And people resist in a lot of ways. Like addictions is a big way of resisting. Because rather than feeling, people take an addiction as an emotional tranquilizer, which can be food, it can be gambling, it can be sex, whatever it is, right? Shopping. Like in Australia, it's about being busy. Being busy is an addiction. And quite often people are busy because they don't want to look at themselves. And that's while they're locked down, right, which is what they're really doing anyway to themselves, they go, what? How can I be by myself? You know what I mean? And no, it's about surrendering to the moment and allowing whatever's happening is okay. Because it's coming up for a reason to help you let go of something. If you resist it, in other words, you don't allow yourself to experience it, to feel it, then you're not going to allow yourself to go through it. And you think you're going to be okay, but you're not. Because if you don't surrender and don't heal it, it's still in your body, which is going to be very toxic. So as an example, there's a lot of angry people. And I can tell because I can feel their energy, but they try and hide it. Because like in Australia, I don't know if it's about UK and Scotland, but we're told don't be angry. No, allow your anger to come out. It doesn't mean you're going to hit people, but deal with your own emotions because no one makes you feel anything. They don't. All your emotions come from your choice of how you relate to an experience. So the important thing is you've got to sit with it. Oh, I'm angry right now. Okay, cool. It's okay. What is that anger teaching me? Right? Anger is a very powerful emotion to help you understand that you want to change something. That's why you're angry. No one makes you angry. You're actually angry with yourself because there's something that you need to do, that you want to do, but you're not doing yet. Now, other people can trigger those emotions, but they don't create them. So the important thing is, it's learning how to get out of your head into your heart. And you can do preparations for this, like before you take plants, by like doing heart meditations. Learning to surrender by meditating, to allow yourself to experience and go, oh yeah, I'm feeling sad right now. Allow yourself to sit in that sadness and go, yeah, hello sadness, why are you here? What are you going to teach me? Well, see, a lot of people are scared to go into emotions because they think they're going to drown in them. They think they can't get out of them. Now, when I train my healers, I train people through what's called the emotional tone scale, which is used a lot by actors, right? And it teaches you how to move up and down emotions. So I can train people to go from shame, which is right down the bottom, close to death. I know that emotion really well because I had a lot of shame as a kid, right? Is I can take them up from shame to joy in a couple of minutes. But see, a lot of people aren't trained, Tom, to learn how to play with their emotions. So when I go to South America, and Tatiana will say this, is that South Americans wear their emotions on their sleeve. They get angry, but then they let it go. You know what I mean? They hold on to it. Like Australians will hold it inside, and they'll be passively angry at you, right? But in South America, they just express their emotions. It's a bit weird when I started off, but I actually really like that. Because you always know exactly where they are, don't you, Tatiana?
Yes, 100%.
You know where people are at because they're expressing it. See, in Australia, you know, I call it the big Australian lie. I'm okay, mate. You know, that's the big Australian lie. I'm okay, mate. You say, how you going? And go, oh, I'm okay, mate. And you go, what? Really? You can feel all the shit in their bodies going on, right? I watched this guy, because as I said, most people used to turn up and they sit with us for a day and they'd ask all these questions because their minds, they've got all this fear going on, right? Which is a bit understandable because you're about to do something that you heard a lot of stuff about you don't really know much about, right? There's this Afro-American guy, he's probably about 20, and he's sitting there reading comic books. Everyone else is asking all these questions. I said, do you have any questions about ayahuasca? He said, no, it's all cool. And he wasn't resisting. He was just totally surrendered. The first ceremony, he just had the most amazing ceremony because he just totally surrendered. He said, oh, yeah, some stuff come up with my brother and whatever, right? But he actually just shared it and allowed it to come up. And he just had the most amazing experience. It was just a really good example for everyone else in that group how to surrender. So his monkey mind wasn't ticking over going, having to ask all these questions, which is about control. What they're really asking those questions is to try and control. No, to surrender means medicine, here I am. I'm trusting the shaman, I'm trusting this group, and I'm just going to allow this medicine to work through me to bring up the stuff that I need to look at, irrespective of how uncomfortable it is. Because I remember one lady, she said in the circle meeting, she said to the shaman, that was a really uncomfortable experience last night. And the shaman said, this is about healing. Whether you enjoy it or not is irrelevant. It's about how much it helps you heal. Yeah? Because sometimes the more uncomfortable it is, it means you're going deep into stuff. So if shamans see you crying during a ceremony, they get excited. Not because they're masochists, because they know something's coming up to release. They're more worried if you're sitting there with nothing going on. Because some people sit in a ceremony and they're smoking tobacco. And they go, I don't know how anyone could smoke tobacco during a ceremony because you're not present. It means you're too earthly. You're not in your soul. You know what I mean? You tend to go off, but some people sit there smoking tobacco during ceremonies. Go, what? Shamans do it for another reason. They're doing it because they're connecting tobacco to bring in the energy of tobacco during ceremonies. That's why they're doing it. It's a different reason. But of course, in the West, it's all about helping people get addicted so they can make a lot of money out of you. Because it's all about connecting to what limited thoughts you've got and letting them go. And if you do that through meditation, or you do it through yoga, or you do it through playing music, however you connect to it, you know, drawing art, there's a lot of different ways you can actually connect to issues going on for you and letting them go and connecting to your soul. These medicines are one way of doing it, but it's definitely not the only way. Yeah, that's the name of the plant, ayahuasca.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's actually really interesting because actually that word means the vine of death. And because actually it is a vine. Like with the place I was going, there's ayahuasca everywhere. And it is actually a vine. But it's really interesting because I like to play with words. And when you look at the vine of death, it's like divine, right? Because in a way it is a death. It's about, this is helping answer your question, Linda, it's about, death is about letting go of the old you so you can connect to the real you. So in a way it is a death. That's the way they look at it. It's a death of that fake you that you tried to be to survive in the world, which is what most people are doing, putting on their false masks. It's about letting go of those, allowing that old role that you've defined yourself to reconnect to who you really are. So in a way, that's a death. That's why they call it the vine of death. Because as I said, quite often what the medicine does is it brings up the thoughts you've been having. We've got a bit like Tom said, a lot of people in their heads. And so what the medicine does, it'll bring up what you're thinking and what you're feeling. But it'll sometimes bring up your feelings that you're not totally aware of because you're in your head. But it'll bring up the emotions you hold inside of you that haven't released yet, like grief or sadness or shame or that you've had from a child that you haven't let go of. So what it does, it connects to all the thoughts and emotions that are in your energy, but you might not be conscious of. So it brings them all up into your conscious awareness during the ceremony. So you can have thoughts, but then once you go through the thoughts, you can just be in a state of amazing vibration, which is what some people get to, which is like being in a very deep meditative state. So you can actually reach that state. So because everyone's experience is different, it's a bit like, that's why it's a bit hard to normalize an experience, right? Because everyone goes through something totally different. But people do have thoughts, they do have emotions, because they're coming up to help you release. And when you get into that state of total peace or or being blessed, just totally being a soul, right? Then, yeah, that's meditative state. You can experience that on ayahuasca, but you can also experience it without taking ayahuasca.
Well,
Yeah,
you know, I've just ended up in this position. Like, I never thought that I'd ever be doing anything like this when like a few years ago when I was younger. But I just ended up, you know, leading everything. I think when you spend so long within your head and you're trying to, you read all these different books, especially with Western. When you go to a Western psychologist and you sit down in front of them and you know they're not going to answer your questions or understand you, you sort of reach the point in your life where you think this isn't working, and that's when everything kind of hit me, and I thought, well, I'm you know, I need to explore this whole new avenue, which has just opened up like a whole new dimension of thought in that. So actually, I think, yes, I suppose that will happen at some point. So I just like to, especially on the surrender, like we spoke about as well. It's very interesting and good to know about that, because I'm someone that holds on so tightly that needs to sort of, you know, cut himself away. So yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of things underneath that. You know, a lot of people control, because all control is based on fear. So it just means you've got some fears to let go of. So I would certainly suggest people who are in their heads a lot, if they go and drink ayahuasca when they're in their heads, they're probably not going to surrender. Because drinking ayahuasca is not a head medicine. It's not. It wants you to experience. It wants you to feel, and it wants you to feel your experiences and open yourself up. So certainly for someone who's in their head a lot, they probably need to open up first. In other words, allow yourself to feel and allow yourself not to try and control. See, because a lot of people try and control by turning over thoughts all the time. Most people have the same thoughts they've done for the last 10 years. You know why it's being psychotic? Because you're turning over the same thoughts every day. It's allowing yourself to feel and not think at all. Be present. The less you think during a ceremony, the better. It's allowing yourself to be. Isn't that true, Tatiana? When you're taking your magic mushrooms or your ayahuasca, it's allowing yourself to be present, be there, and allow yourself to experience it, and not even thinking it. Because when you're thinking, you're trying to label something, this is happening. No, just allow yourself to experience it. Because there's one experience I had with ayahuasca when I felt like nothingness. I can't even explain it to you. It was like an experience. I can't even label it to you, right? But it's like I felt a nothingness. It was amazing. It was just like I was nothing. I couldn't feel my body, couldn't do anything. I was just being. Now I can't really put words on it and label it, but that's the best way I can try and explain it to you. It's like it was just a feeling. So I really think for you, people in their heads, they really need to get out of their heads, because being in your heads is a very dangerous place to go, right? Because a lot of the media, they give you all this false information to control you. So being in your head is a very dangerous place to be, because a lot of the thoughts you have are not true. The medicine might bring up any emotions for you that you might experience. And for instance, like the day after a medicine, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to heal it totally, whatever it's bringing up for you to reconnect to, that you're going to heal it during the ceremony. And that's why it's important the next day. You might be sitting in particular emotions. It might bring up sadness. It might bring up grief. And you might need to sit in the next day because you need to heal it. Because obviously one important thing is, right, if you go and drink ayahuasca and you're sitting with a lot of healing people, it feels an amazing experience, right? And you can shift because you feel safe and comfortable. But the important thing is, and the shamans will say this, uh, that's only 80% of the healing. They said 20% is when you go back into your life. It's about, can you hold that vibration in your life? Because really that's why you're healing, so that you're a changed person in your life totally. That's the important thing. So in answer to your question, Linda, it can bring up various emotions of all different kinds to help you heal.
So
And what essential oils is another way of using powerful energy of plants. But the important thing is how you use those. If you're using them as a magic pill that you rub the essential oils and say, this is, I'm going to heal, well, it's not going to heal you. It's opening up to vibration. So if you utilize the plants to open you up to connect to what you need to let go of, those limiting beliefs that you've got from trauma, if you let go of those by connecting to a particular vibration which the plants help you, then it's going to help you heal. Now, if you're really connecting to a plant and surrendering to that plant's energy to come into you, you're allowing that vibration to work through you to help you clear something. That's why it's making you feel good. But I can tell you from most of the people that come there, it blows their mind where they can go with ayahuasca compared to what the other psychedelics do. Not to say that you can't have great experiences with magic mushrooms, but I know from people doing ayahuasca, especially if you do it a few times and you open up because you get more comfortable with it, is that they go to an amazing places in the universe and in themselves, which is a lot different from being in your head, Tom.
Yeah.
Okay.